Hey, everybody, I'm Kelly Ehlers.
I'm Jeffrey Lunnen.
And this is Volume Up by the Tees. All right, Jeffrey, spring is sprung. What is happening in your neck of the woods?
Flowers, stuff, warm weather, all of the good things that you hope for. I'm getting the urge to grow my hair very, very slightly.
Ooh.
I'm
Ooh.
obsessed with the mullet that we keep talking about
Yeah.
on all of our episodes, and maybe going blonde. That's what I'm
Ooh.
up to these days.
All
You
right, I
keep getting
like it.
lighter, so I feel like I should get lighter too.
Yeah, I don't think I've been this light in a long time, but I'm going to keep going, see what it looks like.
Lightening up for spring, groundbreaking.
Yeah.
We're doing it, damn it.
In the words of Miranda Priestley. I mean, speaking of groundbreaking, if you liked our interview with Mike Vandible, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at Read the Tees, and send in questions to volumeup@thetees.com. But before we get there, we have so much to talk about. So to get us started,
Amazon. How many packages do you have in the queue right now? How many things are coming? How many things are hitting your doorstep daily?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like almost as you said that, the Amazon guy just walked by my window. So it turns out there's at least one package in the queue. I love and hate Amazon, right? I want to support small businesses.
Yep.
I very, very much want to support small businesses. And then on the other hand, it's also very, very convenient for example, when you need red feathers for your son's geography fair trifold board. The next day arrives the feathers. So what about you?
I mean, I am also all about small business, but I don't really want to leave my house because I'm freaked out still. I'm not fully vaccinated.
Okay.
So I've been leaning on Amazon probably more than I'd like to, definitely more. But the convenience of being able to find exactly what you need versus going somewhere and hoping that they've got it, because I'm not checking online to see if they've got it in stock before I go, which I guess could save time. Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of it. I don't maybe have a ton of things, but I go on like binges where I go a couple of weeks, don't buy anything, and then a bunch of stuff, and then a couple of weeks of nothing, and then and then I have like a mountain of Amazon boxes for myself that makes me feel like shit.
The one business idea I'm going to throw out there for some podcast listener, because I don't have time to do this, but why hasn't Amazon figured out a sort of system to recycle the boxes? Now, you can personally recycle them, but why is there not an Amazon drop-off box place, right? Somebody should create this business and parallel path it to Amazon, because
I feel like Jeff and the team have got it in the queue for themselves, but maybe they don't, in which case jump to it and get on that, and you guys can thank us. No, that's genius. They've been better about like the eco-friendly packaging, but still, I mean, it's all garbage. It's coming on a big truck and all of that stuff.
Wouldn't it be interesting to see like pre-pandemic or even like pre-Amazon, like they've got to track this, like the amount of cardboard that gets recycled then versus now, and like the Amazon effect of recycling and cardboard. I mean, somebody's got to be tracking that.
I would imagine so. We should look into that and follow up on a future episode. Speaking of the impact, I mean, Amazon is obviously beyond just the website and ordering things that you need or maybe just want and need to have them because you want them. Obviously, they purchased Whole Foods here in the US. And so now if you're a Prime member, you get a discount, although that discount is worthless. Just putting it out there. 10%. Come on. Like, what are we doing? But they've sort of slowly worked their way into a bunch of facets of our lives. They famously bankrupted small bookstores throughout the US, and now they have their own bookstores where you can shop in store and scan things and it links to your account and all of that stuff. We hear that something else is in the works. No, Amazon has done the unthinkable, unimaginable, and is experimenting with a salon concept in the UK. And we're going to talk about that because I know you've got feelings on it, Kelly. We all probably do. But in case you haven't heard, Amazon's bringing high tech to hair care with its first ever London-based salon concept, which they're referring to as an experiment, quote unquote. I'm going to read now from the BBC an article that really breaks down the specifics of what this is going to look like. We've also covered it on Theteescom, which we encourage you to take a look at. It's a little bit more detailed, but I feel like for everybody that's just coming here, hearing about this for the first time, the BBC article is going to be the best bet to understand sort of what we're talking about here. And we'll link to it within the show notes for everybody. So as we said, Amazon is launching its first ever high-tech hair salon. The salon, which is located in Spitalfields, East London, LOL, my accent's there. It's going to have augmented reality mirrors showing clients different colors and styles before they actually have treatments. So that's an interesting thing there. The venue will have magazines loaded onto tablets for browsing, COVID safe. We love that. Traditional services, cuts, blow dries, and color treatments will be available. And it will be staffed by independent hairstylists from the London salon that is called Neville Hair and Beauty. Customers will be able to scan QR codes for hair products and buy them through Amazon, just like they do in the stores that we mentioned here in the States for books and other random odds and ends. Amazon says, we've designed the salon for customers to come and experience some of the best technology, hair care products, and stylists in the industry. We want this unique venue to bring us one step closer to customers, and it will be a place where we can collaborate with the industry and test new technologies. Amazon says the venture is experimental and has no current plans to expand. So that means for now, it is not headed over here across the pond to the States. Kelly, what do you think about this? Should Amazon be doing this at all? And do you believe them when they say that they don't have plans to expand for now? Let's talk about it.
You got it. So I do have some feelings on this. Growing up, my mom being a small business owner and, I'm a little averse to like the big giants coming into the industry. Well, maybe more than a little, like a lot, let's say a lot. Because I know that, them coming in represents, potential job loss for people in the industry that we love. So I'm not here for it, to be honest. What I do like is, I like the thought of the technology. I mean, I could never see myself walking into a place that says Amazon on it and trusting them with my hair color. And that's not to say anything bad against the stylists who are there. I just don't think we need them in the industry. And, here's the other thing with this whole test and learn, we know that Amazon's been trying to penetrate the salon pro space and they've done a fairly good job at it from an e-com perspective. But, what I would assume is that this is a big data grab for them to learn the professional service industry, to learn the behaviors, the buying patterns, the frequency of services, to be able to go back to the large manufacturers and persuade them to do more business with them. So that's my hot take on that. I mean, what's your thought?
I'm skeptical, certainly. I think the model that they've pursued elsewhere has been super aggressive, and we've seen what's happened to small businesses in the States here as Amazon has expanded. We talked about it. It's sort of a necessary evil. This might not be so necessary, though, which is probably why they're framing this as the test. I have the same worries that you do. And I think like the timing is a little bit suspect, particularly in the UK, noting how difficult the shutdown was there for stylists and barbers. Like this seems a little bit crass on Amazon's part, but to each their own, I guess. This is global capitalism at work. Curious, genuinely curious as to whether or not they're going to pursue this in the States, but I don't share confidence that they're going to not come this way. Yeah.
I mean, here's the deal. If they figure out it's profitable, they're going to pursue it. There's how many hundreds of thousands of salons and millions of stylists. So it's definitely an industry that's, slightly recession proof, if you will. I mean, we still will get our hair done. It's not something that once you have this pattern of behavior of visiting your stylist every X months, it's not something that's going to go away. So business-wise, it's probably a smart move on Amazon's part to be able to dive in and learn more about the industry that they're trying to get into. But yeah, I don't like what it represents for our industry.
And now we want to know what you guys think. I mean, listeners, please tell us, like, what would you say if Amazon were coming to your town? We want to hear from you guys. So, let us know in the comments, send us emails, DM us, get at us so that we can hear your thoughts and share with everybody the industry's response to Amazon coming to the UK and potentially to the US.
Yes. I mean, I would love to hear anyone's thoughts on this. So, we're always watching the inbox. So, I mean, send us an email. We'll check it out.
We will. And just like Amazon, going after new and different markets, our editorial team has been hard at work on Theteescom, uncovering industry news like what Amazon is up to. We've covered that extensively on the site, as well as brands that you don't know, but you should, new hires, exciting stuff that's happening. So we're going to run through some of our favorite headlines from Theteescom this week. Kelly, what are you reading on Theteescom right now?
Yeah. So first up, I want to give a big shout out to John Costanza, who is a friend of the Tees and a wonderful colleague to work with. He just landed a new CEO role over at Beauty Industry Group and will be leading the charge over at Hair Talk Extension. So, all right, we see you, John. Way to go.
Yeah. Congrats. That article details all of it, including some fun quotes from him and some others at the Beauty Industry Group. So highly recommend that piece. Something that I'm interested in is a little bit trivial. We talked about going lighter at the top of this podcast.
Yes.
Someone has done it, and that someone is Selena Gomez with the help of the famous 901 Salon. Rihanna and Nikki Lee have made Selena Gomez blonde again. Famously, she'd been blonde a couple of years back. Blonde Selena is back. They did it with Joico product. I'm now just wanting to bleach the crap out of my hair. So kudos. If you want to know more about all of that, go to thetees.com, read that article, and then go stalk her Instagram because the blonde's really good this time.
I love it. And speaking of bleaching your hair, you got to be careful with the breakage, man, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, our friends over at L'Oreal Professional are launching a new line, and they say they know it's time to break up with your breakage. So, healthy hair actually does have a lot of metals in it. Do you ever really think about that? Like the metal from the water, the metal from air or pollution, it actually gets into your hair.
Because of course, I don't want to think about it, but no, I'm glad that they've got products to do something about that, damn it.
When the metals are inside your hair and you mix it with hair color and lightening oxidants, a negative chemical reaction occurs that leads to breakage and in turn, unpredictable results. So Metal Detox is a brand spanking new innovation from L'Oreal Professional. They're saying that it's 87% less breakage and 100% reliable color results. So it happens to be in our Hello Salon Pro April box as a takeover with everything you're going to need to add on that Metal Detox service to your services. So head over to thetees.com, check it out, and order your box to see what it's all about.
Love that. I might be buying one of those myself.
Right?
So good news. Last article that I'm obsessed with on thetees.com right now is about TikTok. So I have been getting into TikTok for some work that we're doing. And I'm always on the lookout for new and different stuff. One of the articles is 10 hilarious TikToks that every beauty lover will appreciate. If you're listening to this podcast, that's probably you. You should go to thetees.com, click on the article, watch the videos, laugh yourself through your lunch break or wherever you're accessing from. And you can thank us later.
I love it. Who's your favorite to follow on TikTok? Let's hear it.
I feel like it's the rabbit hole. Now we're going to go off on a tangent. I don't have a specific TikToker, as it were, that I'm into.
Okay.
I like the weirder. I like a fall. I like respond. Yeah, come back to me on a specific user, but I like them all.
Check back in. So as always, so much going on at thetees.com. Thank you to our hardworking editors. We're proud to publish the stories that salon pros and consumers care about.
Next up, we're bringing back Miki Wright, stylist, salon owner, coach, and host of the Beauty Superstar Talk. Miki started her podcast in May of 2020 after the killing of George Floyd, out of the necessity to have more conversations around race in the beauty industry. This May, Miki's programming a whole month to take a look back at what this year has looked like, changes that have been positive, and the abundance of work that is yet to be done to support equality in our industry. We will be supporting, promoting, and sharing Miki's podcast as part of our mission to elevate important conversations. Hey everybody, we are here on the Volume Up podcast with our incredible co-host, guest, all of the things, Miki Wright. We've had her as a guest on the podcast before. She is a multi-hyphenate for sure. And one of the things that she's got in that multi-hyphenate title is podcast host. She is the podcast host of an incredible series of the Beauty Superstars. We are so thrilled that she's here again with us. Miki, please give everybody a warm welcome. Let them know what you're up to these days. We'd love to kick off our chat with you today.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me back, Jeffrey. I'm super excited to be here with Beauty Superstars Talk. I guess I can tell you about myself as well, but it's like I'm a salon business coach. I help hairstylists and salon owners to get more clients and make more money. And I also help with the hiring piece and developing them into leaders as well in terms of growing and scaling their business. And I've had a very diverse career, as you mentioned, and as we talked about last time, but I been a hairstylist, award-winning hairstylist and salon owner, one of the first African-American owners of a full-service salon and day spa in the country. And I've been an educator for probably a good portion, if not most of my career. And so I've been around a lot, I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, and I've helped a lot of other people through my coaching, as well as met a lot of people throughout my industry career. And so with Beauty Superstars Talk, we are launching into May, and the topic is called Beauty Diversity Revisited. And we are going to go into where are we now? I wrote a little bit, so I'll share that with you. But on May 25th of 2020, George Floyd was murdered right before our eyes. He was certainly not the first, but for our country and the world, it seemed to be like a tipping point and an uproar that could be heard worldwide, quickly ignited with protest and calls for reform and justice. As we know, it's like we've just been able to experience the trial and conviction on all three counts of Derek Chauvin. And so, going back to 2020, shortly after all of the eruption in the world, it kind of spilled into the beauty industry. The industry is, kind of longstanding been very segregated, Black salons over here, white salons over there. And the beauty industry was really called to task for creating more diversity, creating more inclusion and equity for Black artists and entrepreneurs in the industry. And so this May, we're going to spend the entire month talking with, I actually have 7 guests this month, which I usually have 4 or 5, maybe 6. And so we're stretching it because there are really some great conversations that I want to have with a lot of people who are in a variety of different areas of our industry. Last year, I wrote an article that just asked, do Black stylists really matter in the beauty industry? And I kind of went into every aspect of the industry, the behind the scenes, the trade shows, the schools, the salons, just about everything you can think of in beauty, and said, if we did matter, this is what it might look like. And so this year we want to kind of take a step back, a step ahead maybe, and just kind of look to see, how is the beauty industry doing a year later?
And such important conversations that you're going to be having. We don't want to steal any of the shine. Those are going to be very, very important topics that everybody's got to listen to. But we do want to pick your brain a little bit about your thoughts on a year after. We just obviously heard the verdict that was announced. Derek Chauvin, thankfully, was convicted in all 3 counts. The George Floyd murder, excuse me. How are you feeling about the beauty industry a year after the fact? We're now here. How are you feeling about progress? Has there been enough?
Well, I definitely think there's been some. And so we have to applaud and say thank you to, the efforts that are being made. I think anytime that there is some type of uprising, that there is, everyone wants to show up, and that was actually, a lot of how it actually erupted into the beauty industry, because a lot of, there was a blackout day last year, and, where everyone was asked to put just Black on their social media and not post anything else. And a lot of the brands, vendors, social media platforms, etc., said, we're blacking out, we're standing with you. And many of us in the industry were like, standing with us, like, since when? And so, there has been a show from certain platforms, I guess you could say, of, making progress. And for some, I think it's always, not always, but usually when there's like an uprising, there's, the token experiences, it's like, oh, we'll put up something, we'll do this, we'll do that type of thing. But I think there's definitely still a long way to go. I'm anxious to talk to my guests because they're a little bit more boots on the ground in their specific areas. So we'll really get to really dive into, where things have been, where things are right now, and where they feel like they should go.
Related to your upcoming series, what can listeners expect? So you sort of tease that you've got 7 guests. You tend not to have as many. You're jam-packing folks in. There's really important, significant combos that we are expecting. What can our listeners sort of expect to hear from the podcast?
Well, my very first interview will be with Fatima Ampy, and she is an AHA award winner. And she actually had one of those really candid interviews with Gerard with Hairbrained early on. It was very emotional, very raw, very upset, that she's, basically done everything, better, faster, and everything, proved herself over and over again, and still doesn't get the opportunities. And so one of the unique things about Fatima and her story is that she actually lives and has her salon in Minneapolis, where George Floyd was murdered. All of that, she lives right in that area and works right in that area. And so she has had a tremendous year. So all of us, during that time, if you, remember back, we were getting out of lockdown from COVID during that time. Then George Floyd was murdered. And with the riots, just as she's getting ready to reopen, her salon was destroyed. All of us have experienced, being down, being on lockdown, not being able to generate an income. Then, this erupts and, it's emotional, it's very emotional for all of us, but being right there, like in the front, I named hers Salon Survival at Ground Zero. I mean, she's just been right in the heart of it. She sent pictures or images a few days ago, where there's been, armored trucks and military police with, AK-47s right outside her salon. Fortunately, she's, been able to reopen, but I just want to dive into all of those things with her. And it's been a really, really harrowing year for her. And then Crystal Wright, she basically wrote the book on succeeding as a hair and fashion makeup freelancer. And she was an agent who booked, talent for, beauty, fashion, and entertainment for about 20 years. She has a really, backstage insider view of what has been going on the last 20 to 30 years in the industries behind the scenes. And she still coaches many of the top names that in makeup artists and hairstylists who are working behind the scenes, right now today. And so we'll get a lot of her perspective, from her experience. She's in our Legend series. And so I'm super excited to talk with her, and she's never short on words and things to to say to encourage, but also, bring the truth. Then we move on to Weldon Bond, which, he's a little bit more behind the scenes, but he's the son of a hairstylist. So he's been around the industry all the time, his whole life. He is a photographer by trade and has started the Black Beauty Expo, I think in 2009. And he's very much, we don't necessarily need a seat at the table. It might be nice, but let's create our own. Yeah, he's Black Beauty. That's his business name with the Black Beauty Expo, the Black Beauty Magazine, and he's Black Beauty 365. And so we are gonna dive in.
He has created his own table,
Yes,
event outlet. I mean,
absolutely.
The Black Beauty Expo is awesome. So, kudos to him. That's going to be a great one.
Yeah. And so, he's definitely very pro entrepreneurship. Whatever, you're thinking about, whatever you're doing, it's like, think about owning your own business. And so it'll definitely be great to have that conversation with them. And then Corinne Corbett, who's someone that I've just recently met. I actually was on her podcast that came out yesterday. So it's quite exciting. But she has been in the beauty industry as an editor she's worked as editor-in-chief with Elle magazine and beauty editor for both that, Essence magazine. She's got a long list of being in that role where you're making the decisions, but you're not making them alone. And so who gets selected as models, who gets selected as photographers, who gets selected to be on the cover, those types of things. We're going to dig in, and she's definitely an advocate for multicultural, beauty advancement, a true advocate for advancing Black, beauty and Black faces, entrepreneurs, folks behind the scenes. And so it'll be very interesting because, for me anyway, Crystal's experience as an agent and Corinne's experience as an editor aren't even careers that I even thought about, like, oh, I could grow up and be an editor or an agent or something. And so it'll be really interesting just to explore, what are those positions even like, and how do you get into them? Then I've got Jalea Pettis. She is one of the hottest makeup artists and hairstylist in editorial right now. And she's doing amazing things. And every single day, she's making sure that other Black people get an open door, that we get paid equitably, that we get recognition, that we get our credits, to be able to lead to better jobs and more jobs. And so she also, everyone has probably heard about Dante Wright, young, I think he was 20 or so, young man, just shot, killed, murdered by a police officer. And she has two sons. I think one is 19 and one is 21. And just her, she'll share her experience as a mom and, wondering if her kids are going to be killed when they go out the door. And so we'll have some, very, very riveting things. And then Jessica Kidd will join me. She is my first person who's returning back from last year. She started Black Colorists Matter, which is on Instagram, and she curates just amazing color that's being done by Black colorists. And she, as a colorist herself in Maryland, and she kept seeing amazing color work by Black stylists, but she could never find them on the pro beauty social media platforms. And so she started her own. And so she's very close to the subject, being a hairstylist, being a salon owner, as well as a colorist. And we actually spoke last year about, and actually her Wella rep came on as well and joined us. She's a Wella salon. And, just shared, as a rep coming into the industry, the differences between salons, with many white salons, it's like they will buy a full package of product, a full back bar, and they get in exchange for that free education, free back bar products, free this, free that. As Black salons, a lot of times we don't even know that this exists. And no one is telling us, and so it was great to hear from not only her as the salon owner, but also for her rep, who's really committed to making sure that we get equitable treatment when it comes to salons. And,
Wow.
There's so many pieces, and especially with coloring Black hair,
Right.
And there isn't really Black hair, but highly textured hair that's on people of African descent. It's very tricky. It's like it naturally is dark, so there's a lot of warmth to combat, to get really nice colors. And there's also the fact that it tends to be drier and curlier. And so keeping the health of the hair while getting these great colors is just, it's mind blowing. I'm a Black stylist and I've been a colorist. I don't call myself a colorist because I don't love doing corrective color, but I am trained to be able to do corrective color. And so I know what it takes to get great color, to repair, great color, what color, when not applied well, can do to killing the hair,
Right.
And so the things that we're seeing right now today are phenomenal and they're under-recognized. So we're excited to kind of come back a year later and see what's happened, because little conversations we've had, it sounds like she's gained a lot of attraction from brands and people wanting to support Black Colorists Matter, as well as, just seeing, what is she hearing from the colorist, from the color companies, and what's being advanced there.
How did you whittle down the names of the lucky 7 that are going to be on the pod?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily easy, but in some ways it was, because it's like, I really want these conversations to be very raw and very real. And, no, it may be emotional as well. But these people that I have coming on, it's like they're very comfortable in their commitment to advancing Black artistry, Black entrepreneurship, and, and the beauty industry. It's like we love the beauty industry, and it's just kind of a shame that we're, like this little subsection. And so there's so much to explore. And my last guest will be Dominique Lunn, who produces the Hair in Motion magazine. It's been around for years. I don't know the exact date that it started, but it's like the industry's only multicultural magazine. And he has some, experiences that he's had, unfortunately, with trying to get, more exposure and trying to get more, more, what do you call it, distribution for the magazine, and running into different roadblocks. But I selected, you were asking Kelly how I selected them. It's like, I think during that time, with George Floyd's murder kind of being that tipping point, it felt like it was for him, from seeing his post and having some brief conversations, that, he not only is a hairstylist, and not only has put together his magazine that's been out for years, doing hair shows, to support the magazine and the hairstylist, but he's a veteran. It's like he served in our military for this country. And I think, if I'm getting it correctly, I think he served 3 tours in Iraq. And he was very just disappointed that he spent so much of his life serving this country, and that there's so little respect for him as a Black man and him in the beauty industry. And so we're just gonna go in and have these conversations. I don't want to have it for them because I don't know enough of their stories, which is why I love doing the podcast, because I get to hear it from them, and the listeners get to hear it from them, and really, dive into, not only things that we want changed, but how it affects us as well.
The podcast guests are going to tell their stories, as you just said, and we can't wait to hear those. We are interested in hearing a little bit about your story, though. I mean, you are organizing this. It's a year later. We did just have an important verdict a few days ago, followed by some devastating news as regards Ma'Khia Bryant out of Columbus, Ohio. So like highs and lows, immediate almost these days, it seems. So how are you feeling with this ongoing context a year later, in the sort of ramp up to this incredible series that you've got planned?
I try to remain hopeful. I don't always feel hopeful, unfortunately. I actually did, I was asked to do a guest blog with Nina Tulio, who is, I think it's in one salon or in one agency. And, she sent me a series of questions for me to write on. And the first one was like, you've been in the industry more than 20 years. What changes have you seen in terms of racial, our industry? And I was like, I haven't really seen any changes, and which is really sad. When I really stopped and thought about it, it's like, wow, it's like, I exist, I keep going, I keep moving, I'm doing the things that I'm doing. Everybody, that I'm interviewing is doing amazing things in the industry, despite, any setbacks, holdbacks, obstacles, or what have you. For me, last year during, with George Floyd's murder, and it was just, where I didn't have words. It's like I had so much sadness and so much anger all at the same time that I was just kind of a big ball of something. And I didn't have anything to say. I guess you could tell me, maybe unusual for me. But but when everything started moving into the beauty industry, and it was like, this is so upsetting. Some of the conversations and things that I was seeing, that, it's like, oh, well, we see you, we hear you, we want to support you. How can we do that? And it's like, we've been here all the time, It's like we're hidden in plain sight, it's like you kind of can't miss us, And so, as a leader in the industry for many years, I was just like, okay, I have to say something. I have to gather myself together and say something. And it may not be popular, it may not be whatever, but I just have to say something. And And actually, for anyone who doesn't know, it's like that's how the show was born. The Beauty Superstars Talk show was born out of George Floyd's murder. And during COVID, I was actually connected with Ted Gibson. We were working on some things with Worth Up, actually. I hadn't really launched yet, but we were working on Worth Up. So get that hashtag going. And he was actually feeling very similar to the way I was feeling. And so I was like, as leaders in the industry, we need to have this conversation and have it so people can hear and see what we're feeling. So we did. He was my first guest for the show, which was great. And it's still a wonderful interview. If anybody wants to take a look at it, it was being on several calls, actually Zoom calls that were a lot of Black artists and entrepreneurs that were getting together to meet each other, to express how everyone was feeling, experiences that they had, whether they were kind of in the marginalization kind of not so severe type of thing to outright discrimination. And what I left with was just being super inspired by everyone's story, because we have people who are excelling in film and television, that are behind the scenes with editorial, that have beauty schools, that have, salons that are rocking there. I mean, there's just so much greatness in our industry, and no one's really celebrating it. No one's really acknowledging it. So it's like, my platform has to do that. These stories have to be told. And so we've been telling them every week. Every week I get to interview, the best and brightest Black beauty bosses and that are doing amazing things in the industry. And it is topic based. Each month a decision on kind of what needs to be talked about in our industry. And so we've had some amazing conversations, even just from this year with, our Salon Success series. We're on hair loss right now. It's like last month we talked about textured hair, from a lot of different aspects and a lot of different angles. And so it's definitely something I'm super committed to. I feel like I've got like 5 years worth of guests. So when you ask, how do I narrow it down? It's like, it's not always easy. Definitely a lot of people I really want to talk to and have conversations. And the list keeps growing because I keep meeting amazing people. Like every week I'm meeting new people and I'm like, wow, like we've got to tell these stories as well. So there's a lot.
That was actually one of the questions that we had, which is, I mean, we know that this series is coming up, and we are encouraging all of our listeners to make sure that they are listening for the month of May, but they should listen all the time. So what else is in store for Beauty Superstars? I mean, you've mentioned the list keeps growing in terms of guests. These conversations keep evolving into other areas. Like, what can we expect beyond this series, which again, everybody must listen to?
Thank you, Jeffrey. Yes, well, June, it's like we are going to be focusing on your online success, because as hairstylists, last year we were shut down. It's like you can no longer do what you normally do to generate income. So what are your options? And so we're going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about setting up like online stores. We're going to talk about how you take the knowledge that you have and monetize it online. So we're going to have a lot of fun that month. That's June. And then we're going to go into, I think it's double trouble. So I'm going to talk with a lot of people who are excelling in cutting and coloring. It's like they're just like masters of it all, and see, what are their secrets to success and where are they going from there. And we may have a legends series. I did one last year. I love meeting with the legends of the industry. And I try to get at least one in every month, but there's so many that I want to get to, quickly as I can to capture their stories while they can tell their stories. And so I think it's so important for us just to, to capture the history of the industry, as well as, keep moving forward to, greater heights with everything that we are doing.
All right, Miki. So tell our listeners how they can find out more. Where can they watch, listen, comment, sign up for email, all of those good things?
Yeah, well, definitely go to BeautySuperstars.com, and it's stars with an S on the end, BeautySuperstars.com, and you'll be able to sign up, and we'll send you reminders each week for the upcoming guests, so you'll never miss any. Also, if you aren't able to join us live, it's like you can actually watch them on the BeautySuperstars.com site as well.
Right.
And if you can join us live, it's like we encourage you to bring your questions, your comments, and any thoughts and things that you are experiencing or hearing as you're listening and watching the the interviews.
Amazing. Incredible. Well, Miki, we want to thank you for coming back to the podcast. We could not be more proud of and appreciative of the work that you're doing. It is so vital and important. The beauty diversity continued conversation will be happening throughout May with Beauty Superstars Talk. Please, everybody, go. If you are not already subscribing, you absolutely should. We're going to be linking out as much as possible in our show notes to get you all over there to listen to the combos that Miki's going to be happening throughout the month of May. Thank you again for joining us. We were so happy to have been a small part of this combo with you.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you both, Jeffrey and Kelly, for having me back. And I love the teas. And so, anyone who wants to join us, they can just go to BeautySuperstars.com and actually get on the list. It's like we'll remind you each Tuesday, and we do them live. So you actually can watch us and you can ask questions and add comments. So it's a lot of fun, as well as, it's like if you miss it, you can watch the replay, of course. But it is nice when we have the interaction on there. So, we encourage you to get on the list, and we'll keep you posted with everything that's going on, as well as maybe throw in a few business tips for you as well. So
hey, that never hurts, right?
Plenty of reasons to listen.
You got it. Thank you. So Miki has got a lot going on, and kudos to her for bringing all of those powerful voices together in the month of May. I'm really looking forward to listening to her Beauty Superstars Talk podcast.
Absolutely. Such important conversations to be had. And we are thrilled that she's spearheading this. And we are equally happy to be supporting, amplifying, and making sure that our listeners are aware of what's going on. Thank you so much to Miki for joining us. And take a look at our show notes for all of the guests that were mentioned, so you guys can find and follow them.
Be sure to hit subscribe, rate, and review, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at Read the Teas, and send in questions to volumeup@thetees.com.
Volume Up is a Tease Media production. This episode was produced by Monica Hickey and Stephen Jotterand. Thank you to our creative team for putting together the graphics for this episode, and Josh Landowski for editing so you can watch and listen on YouTube.